Very encouraging. All right, Greg Jennings played in the NFL. He was good. 7 years with the Packers, 2 years with the Vikes, spent a year with the Dolphins. That must have been fun. And he just retired a couple of days ago on Monday. He's hanging him up. We thought he could still play a little bit. Greg Jennings with us here on Tiki and Tierney. Greg, how are you, buddy?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
We're doing well. Did Miko Grimes' tweets just drive you away from the game of football? Is that what happened, Greg?
I'm sorry. Say that one more
I
time.
said, did Miko Grimes' tweets finally drive you away from the NFL?
No, not at all.
But let me ask you something. I mean, obviously, the media careers with the Packers and the great numbers you put up there, that always struck us as incredibly divisive and incredible. Like, what was the locker room like? Like, when a day after, Miko's tweets would just disparage the starting quarterback.
Like this.
Nothing.
Quiet.
Nothing.
Hey, what can you say?
Tiki, hey, Tiki, it was so like you're looking at. I felt bad for Brent.
Yeah.
Because he has to walk in here and he has to.
Well, tell him to stop.
It's like, man.
I got to tell you,
I felt
Greg,
bad for Tannehill.
I did too. I felt bad
What
for
about
everyone
Brent?
because I don't know if I've ever seen anything like that. Ever. I mean, the wives are great, and they interact. They handle a lot of things for players on game days and throughout the season. I have never, ever, ever seen that situation. I played football for a long time.
Yeah, I had never seen that before. But I tell you one thing. We know who's in Brent's corner 100%.
That is true.
Yeah.
That is true. And by the way, before we get to a nice rundown of your career, do you think that Ryan Tannehill could be really good? I mean, this is a huge year for him. What do you think of him?
I think that we will see. I mean, honestly, I just answered this question. I don't know. I believe that he has what it takes, but because his hands have been tied, because he hasn't been able to really showcase who he is as a player because of, the system or whatever the case may have been, this is his opportunity to take more of a responsibility and a role of, like, I got this, guys. You can trust me. Coach, you can trust me. Give me more freedom so that I can really show my teammates and even myself who I can be in this league. Because, quite honestly, I mean, right now he thinks it, but it's never happened.
Yeah.
So no one knows.
Greg, give us an insight of how he is as the leader of your team. Obviously, you played with one of the greats in Aaron Rodgers when you were out at Green Bay. But, the different coordinators, the changing systems, it seems like they've now surrounded him with the right tools, the players, wide receivers in particular, but also Adam Gase. He's really good at developing quarterbacks. What's his mindset like? Because I don't think that you can't ever determine that until someone has great success and then you start dissecting them.
Yeah, he has the mindset of a guy who definitely wants to be great. I had the luxury of being in the huddle with Brett, had the luxury of being in the huddle with Aaron. There's a huge difference. There's just a huge difference.
Is it comprehension? Is it like understanding everything? You know what I mean? Being so far above the X's and O's that it's slow, right?
You know what? I don't even think it's so much that. It's more of that it factor of where you can't really put your finger on it, but it just separates them from the rest. I was literally at the golf course 2 days ago, and I ran into Rich Gannon on the putting range, and literally on a putting green, and literally he says, "Man, so what's up with Tannehill? I just don't feel like he has that aura that." And it's that, like, when you get in that huddle, you've been in a huddle with great quarterbacks. So it's like, when you look at them and what they're saying, you feel that, like, you believe it. You can perform that right then and there.
Yep.
And it's like, I didn't experience that in the huddle. Does he have confidence? Absolutely, 100%. But does it come off as almost a forced or I want to be able to do this? In my opinion, yes. Now, again, I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that he wasn't able to really be who he wanted to be. He was kind of forced to be like this robot in this system. So it was that was evident, that was felt, that was the vibe that you got when you were in the huddle. Like, okay, we got to make this. We're gonna make this work. It doesn't matter what. And it's like, it's just a difference. I don't care who you are. Those guys can't say it. I can't. It's a huge difference when you step into the huddle and a quarterback carries that presence of, look, it really don't matter. It does not matter what the play is.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to make it work.
32Z, 24 left snap. You go here on 2. Hike. Now I hear you. Talking to Greg Jennings with us here on Tiki and Tierney, CBS Sports Radio. All right, let's get to a quarterback who was phenomenal and who had the complete opposite presence, the way it seems, in the huddle. And you played with him for 7 years, and really your career, the meat of it, was in Green Bay. 7 outstanding seasons twice. Greg had 12 touchdowns. Now, do I have to call up my boy Aaron and make sure you guys are on the same page? Well, what do you guys have beef? What's the story here, man? Seriously.
No, I don't. Honestly, there is no beef. Man, I honestly, I don't think there's anyone in this world, and this is from my perspective, that I have beef with, that I have an issue with. That's just not who I am. And the things that I said, they were said out of frustration. I felt like, as the franchise guy, like, you're my guy. I was balling when Brett was there, man. Like, you walked into this, like, come on, man. Like, you got to say something. Like, you know what I'm saying? You have their ear, and I felt like that didn't take place. And, I said things that I wish now that I would have worded differently or I would have conveyed differently. But there is no beef. I have no beef. Look, I'm not my wife will tell you I'm not a confrontational guy.
Yeah, you seem like a pretty mild-mannered cat.
Yeah, here's the thing, though, Greg. Donald Driver kind of backed you up in some regards, and we started to hear these things about Aaron Rodgers and his lack of relationship with his brother and everything, all these other things. Do we not know who he actually is? Is he insular? Or is he that guy who we all, or if you're a teammate, want to rally around?
I mean, look, I was in the locker room with him for 7 years, and you learn a lot about a guy. When you've gone through these types of experience with them, training camps, just ups and downs, highs and lows, and when he's not playing, all these different things. So you learn a lot about a guy, and I'm not saying what I said was not true. I'm not saying that at all. What I'm saying is I should have worded it differently. I probably should have never said it, but I did. And I'm not an Isaiah Thomas guy where I can't say I apologize.
Yeah, I hear you.
So I do. I'm very apologetic for it.
Mm-hmm.
I told him that because that it was done out of the wrong posture, and I understand that. But it is what it is. I mean, he's a great, phenomenal player, but there's some things that he has that just I don't agree with. That's just me. I mean, that's my opinion. That doesn't change the way I feel. I still love the guy. I without a shadow of a doubt, I would do what he needed right now. If he called me, if he shot me into anything, I would do it because that's just who I am and that's the relationship we have. But that doesn't mean I can't be honest. I'm not a friend if I'm lying to you.
I love it.
That's just truth, man. I'm not. And I think from a fan's perspective, everyone looks at it like, oh man, don't lie to your friend. Tell them what they don't want to hear. Tell them what the next person isn't saying.
Yeah.
And that's just the reality.
That sounds
so I would like having you on the show, Greg.
Yeah,
it's a good synopsis right there. Let me ask you this. Let's kind of shift it over to a broader scope, broader view of the NFL. Talking to Greg Jennings. Decided to hang him up this past Monday. Terrific career. Decade in the NFL. Came from a very small school, relative obscurity. I think you're a good person to ask this question. If we're sitting back on a deck or a patio or a golf course having a beer, because you are accomplished and you are cerebral and you are honest as well. If somebody said, hey, the next 10 years of the league, is it going in the right direction? Is it in a good, encompassing concussions and drugs and domestic, everything? Where is the league in the next 10 years? Is it going into choppy waters, or is it okay?
I think it's okay. I think it's just okay right now. It'll in the next couple of years. I think we'll get a greater description of where it really is headed, of how far they're taking it. But in my opinion, the league they're just covering themselves. And as a player in this league, you see that if you understand business. And I don't think that. I think that it's taken away. There's so many things. Don't get me wrong. As a businessman, I get it. You have to protect your brand. You have to protect, what you've created, what you've built. But at some point, there has to be a certain level of respect that you have for those who are within what you've created. And so you have to honor them as well. And I feel like the players, literally, this league thrives off of the players. It doesn't thrive off of upper management, coaching. That's not why this league is what it is. It's because of what takes place on that football field.